So this is what keeps me up at night. I mean, literally. I mean, I did get some sleep, but I got up now at 7 o'clock because I have to make this video just an hour earlier than I had to. Because last night I heard about this story, which is a profoundly disturbing case of the female sex offender charade. And it hits home because this is in Norway. They have sentenced this woman to over a year in prison for victimless sex. And it's to make sense of this, to make sense of the narrative that they use to justify this, right? I've titled this video, "The Emperor's New Clothes or Zombies," because those are the options. And they're both horrors, right? They're horrible, horrible explanations of evil. But which one? I know it's mostly the Emperor's New Clothes, right? I mean, I don't know anybody in real life who is so sick in the head, or so, I shouldn't say, you can't use a word like retarded because that's too nice. You have to use the word zombie. For somebody who actually believes this would be abuse. Because in order to believe that, you have to lack grounding in the world. I mean, you can't have referential grounding in sexuality. And that's such a big part of humanity, so you're not human. You can't class you as anything but a zombie in a huge domain, at least, right? And zombies are real. We know they exist because if you break it down to everything it means to be human, if you break that down, you can find a zombie in any variety of zombiehood that you can think of. Like, some people don't feel pain. Those exist. Some people don't feel sexual desire, which is the ones we're talking about here. Some don't have a conscience. Like, psychopaths exist. And those would be factor into this maybe, but they would be in the Emperor's New Clothes category. They're more likely to go along in that type of charade, because they wouldn't actually believe it. They probably don't lack lust and sexual knowledge. In addition to being psychopaths. So you don't find 100% zombie who is a human. 100% zombie would be something like ChatGPT, which it only has inferential knowledge about the world, what can be inferred from words, right? It doesn't have referential knowledge, the actual experience of the world. So if you don't know anything about sexuality, you have never experienced it, and you don't have empathy either. you just don't, you're a zombie, right? Then this could make sense to you. So you only know the words. You're being told that a boy is a victim if he has sex at 15 or 16, or 16 is the age of consent, so he will be above that in this case. But then you have this, the normies have this belief that if you have sex with somebody who is like a teacher or works at an institution where this boy lives, then that makes it abuse. And he's a victim, and this is supposed to be a literal thing. Not just a victimless, tyrannical law. They believe, or if you read the justification in the verdict, you have this zombie explanation that can only be written by either zombies or intellectually dishonest people. So which one is it? Do the zombies walk among us here too now and actually believe that women are sex offenders, sexual abusers for being nice to boys? This is distilled evil. It's distilled misogyny. It is the most bizarre witch hunt of all times. Because we now single out the nicest women. It's not like we're just picking out victims at random anymore, or we're just like letting people accuse whoever they don't like for whatever reason. That's kind of like random too. But no, we systematically target the nicest women and imprison them. We torture the nicest women. And that is a level of evil that has never existed before feminism. I never heard of it. And ironically, this is an inference from a movement. It's like the pinnacle of feminism is that the most politically correct thing you can do is to put women in prison for so-called sexual abuse. So if you go along with this and you're being intellectually honest, then you are a zombie. At least in the huge domain of sexuality and everything, and empathy and all that. Let's take an analogy. Let's say we had this norm that if you get served a nutritious meal, tasty, nutritious meal by somebody who works at an institution, like a lunch lady at school or something, then you've been abused, you've been poisoned, you're a victim. I mean, that's the level of logic we're dealing with, right? And the normies, they purport to go along with, oh yeah, he was abused because she was in that position of authority, so by some voodoo magic, then the sexuality that he enjoyed, it's turned into abuse. And this is where the zombies it goes into their zombie brains because they don't have referential knowledge of sexuality. They just have these pure words like ChatGPT, just infer what's the most likely word you're supposed to use here after sex with a 15-year-old or sex with somebody who works at an institution when you live there. The word that follows, it gets inferred from this model, this language model they have in their head, which has zero consciousness connected to it. That is abuse. So they use that word and they write these I accidentally turned off the camera. They write these absurd, bizarre verdicts, and then everyone goes along with it. You know, the rest of the story is that it's the emperor's new clothes, right? That's the bulk of the public. Those who don't stand up, don't get up at 7 o'clock in the morning to make a video about it because we're upset. We don't want to live like this. We want to speak out. We want to stop the witch hunt.